Well, everyone, I'm Nathan Newbrough. I'm CEO of the Colorado Springs Philharmonic, and I'm really delighted to welcome our special guest who arrives this week to perform with the Colorado Springs Philharmonic, Kevin Zhu. Please welcome Kevin Zhu, and thanks so much for joining us this week.
Hey, it's a real pleasure. I look forward so much to coming to Colorado Springs for the first time. I've never been there, but I've heard great things about it from one of my good friends, cellist Jan Vogler, who I believe, was there in February, was it?
Good friend of ours, and he's played with us at least 3 times.
Oh, brilliant.
And well known to our audience, and I know you've done a lot of work with him.
Yeah, so he is this kind of incredible guy who is a great cellist, but also a director of 2 festivals in Germany. And so I've played for both of his festivals in Germany, and I've known him for a couple of years now. He's always really a sort of revolutionary thinker.
He really is. And, entrepreneur, jet setter.
Totally.
He's a great mind. He's a great mind and a great performer. We love him. So we hope to have the same kind of relationship with you. I think you're going to have a good week here. We were just talking about restaurants. We're going to have to send some restaurant recommendations to you.
Oh, absolutely. Please.
What would you like to have when you're in Colorado?
Actually, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'd like to see what if there are any local delicacies, and if I don't know, any of your most popular restaurants, I'll take a chance with and see what happens.
You got it. We'll set you up. Up for
great.
Sure. So we want to talk about the music, but first a little about your background for people who might not be familiar. You are famously the winner of the Paganini competition.
Yes.
And it's hard to have a conversation without mentioning that.
Yes.
But that often comes up. But bring us into your backstory a little bit. We were just talking about you grew up in California. You now live in New York.
Yes. So I was born in the States. I grew up in California, in a suburb of San Francisco called Cupertino. Now, some of you may know Cupertino as the headquarters of Apple, and others of you might know Cupertino as the default weather setting on your iPhone when you first get it. So if you buy an iPhone, always the weather and the time setting will be to Cupertino, because that's where Apple headquarters is. And so I grew up there, and I've been living in New York for the past 6.5 years. So I've been here for a while. I am about to graduate from Juilliard, actually. And so, of course, the question is, what happens afterwards? Well, I guess I'll find out in a little bit.
Answer me this. I've got a question though, because you studied with another friend of ours, Zuck Perlman, who was he was the performance of our Philharmonic right before the pandemic hit us.
Oh, no way!
So he was the very last notes that we performed for quite a while, and so we'll never forget that. But so he's one of your teachers at Juilliard.
Yes. I have known him since I was 12. I first went to his summer program called the Perlman Music Program, aptly. And he's been such a great mentor. I mean, you know him as a brilliant musician, and probably a great storyteller and a great joke teller. And he just somehow invites you into his world every time you step into his studio. And my other teacher is Mr. Lee Lin, who's been teaching at Juilliard, I think, since 2014. And he's just a great pedagogue. He knows exactly what to say to get the results that he wants out of each individual. And so I'm very, very lucky to study with him. And to your point earlier about the Paganini competition, I suppose I should talk a little bit about that. I competed and was lucky to win the Paganini competition back in 2018. And it was such a nice time, actually, a surprisingly nice time. Probably most people have the idea that competitions are so fierce and intense, but they really created this atmosphere of camaraderie and of friendship. And it would just be so nice to see these competitors that you meet become your friends, and then you would see them at a local cafe or restaurant, and you would go and talk, and have a nice bowl of pasta or something. And of course, Paganini was Italian. He was a great Italian violinist and composer, one of the greatest of all time. And he left behind basically his violin from when he was touring actively around Europe. And I was also lucky that as one of the rewards for winning the Paganini competition, you get to play that violin. It's a famous violin from 1742. And it's just something unbelievable.
Yeah. You get to play it momentarily. Do you get to play it? Do you get to possess it for a period of time, or is it just a moment?
So Paganini left it to the city of Genova, where he died, and it was his hometown for many years. And basically, it's a city treasure. So it's kept like in a glass case in a museum for most of the year, and it's played so very rarely. Mostly it's by previous winners of the Paganini competition, and only occasionally, maybe once every 10 years, does someone from outside get to play it. And so it's actually maintained and preserved very well. It's kept in this, basically when they take it out of the glass case, there are Italian military officials watching you.
Wow.
And so there'll actually be two people like hunks of guys like sitting there watching you, and it's like a little intimidating at first, but then you get used to it. But then I wonder what would happen if you accidentally snap a string or something. Maybe your head comes off. But and when you play the concert, basically they dress up in this very ceremonial garb, so it looks really official and it's beautiful. But each person who gets to play the violin at all only gets it for a few hours at most, total, including practicing on it and performing. So it's very closely guarded.
Sure, I'm sure, for good reason. But your current fiddle is also a fairly decent instrument. Would you like to say a word about?
Not bad. It's not bad. It's a very nice Stradivari from 1722. So actually, it is celebrating its 300th birthday.
Is that right?
That's something.
Yeah. And it's on loan as instruments of this ilk are often owned by an investor or a group of investors, and they're good enough to make them available to top players. And so you have this for a period of time, I suppose, or is it indefinite?
I've been playing on it for the past almost 3 years. Mm-hmm. And as of yet, I have it for 1 more year, and hopefully more. Basically, how it works is that a patron or a sponsor purchases an instrument, and through some other dealership or some kind of contact they have with an artist, they loan it out to the artist, not only as a sort of investment in terms of its financial prospect, but also because they understand that these instruments that are so old also have utility, and they need to be played in order to sort of maintain their sound and character. And so it's a sort of a win-win for both parties. And the artist gets to, I get to play this fantastic instrument, of course, and that's really a blessing.
Well, we're blessed because we get to listen to it. So this is a great moment in time for all of us. And so let's get into the music just a bit.
Sure.
But let me mention that there is a pre-concert lecture happening an hour before the performance time. So you'll join us for a bit of that pre-concert lecture, so people can hear more about the Paganini concerto. But give us a taste of what someone who's maybe not familiar with the concerto, what they can expect from their first time.
Yeah, so it's a brilliant piece. It's full of these wonderful ornamentations and flying up and down the fingerboard. Paganini was basically the original virtuoso. He was the first person to demonstrate that you can do impossible things on a violin, and you can play, all 4 strings at the same time. You can play like a flute. You can sound like an animal. You can sound like a cat or a bird or something. And there are all these imitations of different things in the world around us. And so that, I think, is really the defining characteristic of this piece.
Well, we can't wait. We can't wait, Kevin. It's going to be a great week. The orchestra's ready for you. They have their first rehearsal tonight, and I've already heard great things from them. They're really excited about the appearance with you this weekend, and I know our audience is looking forward to it too. And so safe trip. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. I'm so looking forward. And yeah.
All right. We're going to show you some Colorado hospitality.
All right.
Thank you. We'll do that. Kevin Zhu, thank you so much. We'll see you soon here in Colorado Springs.
All right. Thank you. Looking forward.